Welcome to John Gets Games. Today we're going to play a full 3-player game of El Gaucho. In this Euro game, we're going to be throwing dice into its own little dice corral. We're going to be acquiring cows and using our gauchos in all sorts of different ways to combo together and get the most victory points. I'm going to jump into the game and I'll explain the rules as we're actually playing the game, and at the very end I'll give you some opinions on how I feel about the game currently. Here's the starting setup for our 3-player game. I have a bunch of cows laid out in this pasture. The way I did this is I laid tiles out from the left to the right until the overall sum in each row equaled or exceeded 20. We've also got these 2 spots down here. These are only used in a 4-player game, so we won't be using those. And each player gets to put 1 Gaucho marker in one of the 6 action spots on the bottom of the board. They do this in reverse player order, so the last player gets to go first. We see blue is over here in the steps, green is at the overseer, and red is at the hero of the rodeo area. I'll explain what all these do as we're playing the game. You can also see that each of the players gets to start with 1, 2, or 3 cows based on a starting hand and the values of them. So I'm playing red, I have 3 cows over here, green has 2, and blue has 2. I'm playing red, and I have the start player token, so that means I get to go first. The start player grabs all of the dice, and they roll them into our little dice corral here. I found it easiest to sort all these dice by their numbers so we can kind of see what the options are. And now I have to take 2 dice out of this corral as my overall turn. And I can do lots of different things with those actions. The actions all involve the cows in the pasture or these 6 action spots in the bottom of the board. Now it's important to note that you can actually sum 2 dice together to get added pips when you're doing the cow section, but you're not allowed to add 2 dice together in order to match these actions down here. I'm going to explain each action type as I do them. So the first thing that I'm going to do is take this 6 die here, and I'm just going to kind of put it in my player area, and I'm going to take one of my Gaucho figures and I'm going to put it down in the steps over here. You see this little die marker on the board. That means you have to use a 6 die in order to place over here. It's important to note that you're not allowed to use any of these action spots on the turn that you put the Gaucho down. You're also not allowed to pull a Gaucho off on a turn and then replace another Gaucho into that same spot on a turn. So I have to pull one more die out of the pen and evaluate its action. I think what I'll do is I'm going to take this 5 right here. If you look at the top right hand corner of this cow over here, we see this little 5. That means for doing a 5 action, I can take one of my Gauchos and put him laying down on top of this cow in the field. You know, you're never going to be able to take a cow until your Gaucho is standing up. I can in the future do another 5 action to stand this guy up because of that 5 in the corner. If the option had presented itself, I could have pulled 2 5s for my whole turn, because you always take 2 dice, and just put a standing up Gaucho on this field because 2 5s equals 10, and that's the big number in the top left. The reason I'm going after that tan number 10 cow is because I already have a 2 and a 4 in that color herd. And in order to add more cows to a herd, you have to go either ascending or descending based off of the pattern of numbers you already have. So here I have a 2 and a 4 already, so I've established that I am ascending up. So if I want to add to it, I have to add bigger and bigger numbers. Now that doesn't mean you cannot get a cow that breaks that. For instance, if I had an 11 cow here, when I got that 10, well, that obviously would break it. That just means that's the moment that you would sell all of the cows in that herd that don't match, and then you would start again with that new tile. I'm sure you'll see this a couple times as the game goes on. The important thing to note is when you sell cows, you get money, which are essentially victory points, equal to the number of cows in that selling chunk times the highest value cow in that chunk. So right now this herd is only worth 4 times 2, which is 8 points. If I was able to get that 10 value cow and put it in this herd, it is suddenly worth 30 points. So that's a really big jump. Now it's the green player's turn. They get to take 2 dice out of the corral and evaluate those as actions. The first thing they're going to do is take a 3, and they're going to put a lying down Gaucho on this black 7 cow over here. And they're going to take this 1, and that means they get to put a standing up Gaucho on this black level 1 cow right here. It has no number in the far right corner because it's the lowest value. For doing a 1, you get to stand your guy up. Now it's blue's turn, but the first thing they're going to do is evaluate this action down here, which is the steps, and it has secret cattle in here, so he's looking for secret cows. Now the way you do this is you pull your Gaucho off the board, and then for this action, the blue player is going to look at these 4 face down cows here. They're going to get to pick 1 or 2 of these cows and put them face up on the board with a standing up Gaucho figurine on them. You're only allowed to do 2 of them, however, if both of these cows are value 4 or lower. Blue has found these 2 cows in the steps. We put the other 2 back on the stack, and we refill it back to 4 cows. Now blue has to put these cows out onto empty spots in the field out here. I think blue's going to put 1 right there and 1 right there. And then they put a standing up Gaucho figurine on both of those. So that was a very powerful and efficient action here, and it didn't even use one of your main actions on your turn. You can use as many of these as you want on your turn, again, as long as that Gaucho was there at the beginning of your turn. So blue still has to take 2 of these dice over here. I think blue's going to take this 3, and they're going to put a laying down Gaucho on this cow right here. And blue's final action will be to take one of these 4s here and put a Gaucho on the cattle thief section down here. Now this is actually going to allow blue to steal one of the cows from the lower area from an opponent. However, that opponent gets an insurance payout and they get money or victory points equal to the value of the cow that was stolen. We've only got 1 die left and every player has taken 2 dice, so this signifies the end of a round. Before we jump into the next turn, however, we need to check and see if anything gets evaluated on these pastures. Now, if any of these rows has a Gaucho on every single cow on that line, whether it's laying down or standing up, then we're going to evaluate that line. And what that means is every cow that has a standing up Gaucho is going to be taken off the board and sorted into each player's area. All cows with lying down Gauchos are going to stay there, and we're going to refill that row until we hit 20 or more value. As you can see, none of these rows match that, so let's move into the second turn. Green is now the starting player, and they roll all 7 dice into the corral. Green is going to take this 5, and they're going to place a standing up Gaucho on this black 5 cow right over here. And then green will take this 6, and they're going to send a Gaucho over to the steps to try and find some secret cows on a following turn. Blue is going to take this 3 here, and he's going to use that 3 to stand this Gaucho up. Blue's second action will be to take a 4, and they're just going to plunk a standing up Gaucho right onto that white 4 right there. Now it's my turn. I think before I take any dice, I'm going to do a secret cow search. So let's take a look at these 4 cows. Unfortunately, only one of these cows is 4 or lower, so I'm only going to be able to find one of these 4 cows here. Now, it might be tempting to just go for one of these 12s, but I don't really have any of that going on. And this 7 is actually pretty tempting. I know I already have a Gaucho out in the field on the 10, so if I can get this 7 first and slide that 10 in, then this could be worth quite a bit of points. So I think this is going to be the cow that we find. So that cow shows up all the way up here, and we get to put a Gaucho standing up on top of it. And then we refill the secret steps up to 4 cows. Next up, I'm going to use my Hero of the Rodeo Gaucho. And what this does is it gives me a 3rd die of any value I want to evaluate this turn. I'm going to say that that die has a 6 on it, and I'm going to place this Gaucho standing up right over there. Next up, I'm going to pull this 4 die back, and I am also going to set up a Cattle Thief Gaucho. And my final action is to pull a 2, and I'm going to put my Gaucho down here, which is the selling house. This is the only way to sell cattle outside of when you get one that doesn't quite match the set. So this gives you control as to when you sell the cattle, plus you get a bonus $5. That's the end of the actions. We look at the pasture and we see that none of the fields are full of Gauchos yet, so let's go on to the next turn. Blue now gets the starting player token, and they roll all 7 dice into the corral. Blue's going to take a 6, and they're going to set up a secret cow Gaucho, and then they're going to take a 1, and they're going to put a Gaucho down into the Hero of the Rodeo area. I'm going to go ahead and take this 6 here, send a Gaucho over to the secret cow steps, and then I'm going to take this 1 here, sending a Gaucho to the Hero of the Rodeo, doing the exact same turn as blue. Green is going to take this 3 die here to stand this Gaucho up on that black cow, and then they're going to take this 2, and they're also going to send a Gaucho to the rodeo. That's the end of the actions. We look at the field and we see, once again, we're not quite ready to pull a bunch of cows off. So I become the start player, and I roll all the dice. The first thing that I'm going to do is try to find some secret cows. Now this is extra good because there's only 1 spot on the entire board to put a secret cow, so blue and green won't even really have this option this turn. And it looks like I got pretty lucky. There's a tan 12 in here, and as you guys already know, I have the 2, the 4, and I'm going for the 10 over here, so I'm definitely going to find that cow. So he goes over here, and we get to put a standing up Gaucho on top of him. Next up, I'm going to pull back my Hero of the Rodeo with his magical die. I'm going to say that is a 6. I'm going to use that 6 from the rodeo to combine with this 6 right here to make 12 and put a Gaucho down on this cow right here. I still have to take 1 more die from the corral, so I think I'll grab this 1 here, and I'll put my last Gaucho into the sorting stall area. Green is going to pull back his Hero of the Rodeo to set a magical die to a 5, and that 5 lets him put a laying down Gaucho onto this 11 right there. Next up, green is going to take a 3 and a 2, and they're going to add both of those dice together to make 5 again, and they're going to put a laying down Gaucho on this black 10 cow up here. Finally, green is going to pull back his Overseer. Now, this is a very interesting spot right here. It lets you do one of 2 things. Either you can stand 2 lying down Gauchos up on the field, or you could put one of your gauchos in the place of somebody else's lying down gaucho, and you get to stand up, so you effectively get a steal here. That person that gets bumped off still gets paid insurance money equal to the value of the cow. Green thinks it makes the most sense to stand both of these gauchos up right there. And blue is just going to have a really big rodeo. They're going to pull this gaucho back and they're going to get a magical die of value 6. They're going to add that in with this 3 and this 2 to make 11 total, and they'll drop a standing up gaucho on this 11 white up here. That's the end of the actions. However, if we look at the pasture now, for the first time we've got full rows, and we've got 3 of them. This top one, the second one, and the third one. And in fact, none of them have lying down gauchos, so all of those cows are going to get sorted. So let's do that one at a time, starting with myself. I got a total of 4 cows from the whole pasture, and the nice thing is, as you evaluate cows from a single end turn, you get to put these in any order you want. You don't have to go row by row. So looking right here, we can take this 7 and we put it there. We put the 12 up here. Then we get to take this 6 and this 12, slide those in there, and now I have 4 gauchos available to play with. Green starts by putting this 11 brown cow up here, and now green has a choice. They could either put the 7 and 1 up and then put this 10 in, which would force the selling of this herd because this is obviously going down. That would get them 8 times 3, which would be 24 money. Or instead, the player could put the 10 in here and then evaluate this 1. This would force the sale of the herd, and it would be 2 times 10 of 20 points. That's just 4 points less than the alternative, but that would leave them with 2 more cows for future turns. So I think this is what green's going to do. They're going to slide this 1 in here, and they're going to try to put the 1 in, which sells these 2 tiles for 20 points. Then this 1 slides over, and they have a new herd with 2 black cows in it. Green gets that $20, which puts them in the lead. Blue is able to pull in 5 cows. They're going to put the whites in order like this, and then start a 4th race of cow down in the bottom. Before we can start the next turn, we have to fill this pasture back up again. So I'm going to start at the top row, and I'm going to keep adding cows in until I either hit the end or I go over 20 value. All right, now green is the starting player, and they're going to roll all 7 dice. Green's going to begin by looking for some secret cattle, and green is pretty happy to find the black 12. Green is going to grab a 5 and establish a new overseer gaucho, and he's going to go ahead and take this 6 and put a standing up gaucho on this black cow here. Blue is going to take this 1 here and put a standing up gaucho on this white cow, and they're going to grab this 4 and they're going to put a laying down gaucho on this model 9. And I don't actually see that much gray out here. I really wish that there was a 1 left over for me so I could plunk down here, have this line score, be able to use my sorting, and able to get a really big tan sell-off, but there isn't. There's a 3 and a 6. So I think I'm going to use this 6 right here to send a gaucho to the secret cow steps, and then I'm just going to grab this 3, and I'm going to send a gaucho to the rodeo to set up for my next turn. We've all done our actions, we looked at the pasture, and we see that we're not quite ready to pull more cows off. Now the blue player is the starting player, and they're going to roll all 7 dice. Blue is simply going to take this 4 and this 2, and they're going to put a laying down gaucho on this cow and this cow. Alright, looks like I got my 1, so I'm going to go ahead and grab that, and I'm going to put a standing up gaucho on this row, which means this one's going to take. I'm still not going to be grabbing this guy right here, but this 1 will slide in nicely using my little sorting house, and that's going to end up getting me 12 more points. For my other action, I'm going to pull my hero of the rodeo off to have my magic die equal 4. I'm going to add that into this 6, which will let me drop down a standing up gaucho onto this 10 here. And green is just going to do a setup turn. They're going to take this 6 and this 3. They're going to put down a secret cow step guy and then 1 gaucho into the rodeo. We're done with actions, and we look to the pasture and we see that this second row right here is now going to take, so let's sort them into our herds. I've got this 1, and normally I would put it here and it would break the chain and I'd be forced to sell this. However, I'm going to go ahead and pull my sorting gaucho back, which will let me slide this cow right into its nice place, which is going to be a really nice payout. Green isn't crazy happy about this. They slide their 5 in, that breaks the chain, so they're forced to sell this herd here, but that's going to be worth 14 points to them. So now they're up to 34 bucks. And blue has this 1 white cow. They don't have anybody in the sorting stall, so this is going to force the sell of this white herd right here, but they get 11 times 4 or 44 money for this herd. This is going to jump blue right into the lead. All right, let's reset this field. So we slide this row all the way down, not that the locations really matter, and we see that this row is already at 19, so We're going to flip over one tile, and no matter what, oh wow, that blew it right over. We're now ready for the next turn. I am now the starting player, so I get to roll all 7 dice into the corral. The first thing that I'm going to do is sell off my brown herd. So I bring this Gaucho back, and I'm going to sell these. Now, the reason I'm doing that is because I can see that blue has a cattle thief. And I also know that blue has at least one of this herd. So just having them steal this 12 could really bump them up, and I'm not in a position to really buff this herd up too much based on the current board over there. I could maybe get 1 or 2 cows, but I'm going to hedge my bets. So this is going to be 3 times 12 or 36 points, plus a bonus of 5 for selling at the house. So this is going to be 41 points. This doesn't quite put me in the lead, but it definitely gets me in the middle of things. Next up, I'm going to go to the steps and secret cow because once again we have some open spots on the board. I have a couple different options here. This 6 is kind of appealing because there's some tans on the board and I have a big tan thing going on, but I think I'm going to go ahead and put on this 12 white even though I don't have any. I know that that might be bait for blue to steal from me, but I'll get 12 victory points when they steal it, so I think it's a pretty good choice. Plop that guy down right here, and we get a Gaucho on him. And since I'm kind of going for white now, I'd really like to take this 10. I'm going to grab one of these 4s, and I'm going to put a face down or lying down Gaucho on this 8 so that this row is going to take. And then my final action, I'm going to take this 3 here, and I'm going to give myself a hero of the rodeo for next turn. Green is going to pull back his hero of the rodeo, and he's going to make a 5 with that die, which is going to allow him to put this stand-up Gaucho on this cow right there. And then he's going to take this 6 and 4, add them up together in order to place a Gaucho standing up on this 10. Looks like green is going to take this entire row of cows all to themselves this turn. There's one spot on the board, so blue sees this as a relatively good spot in order to do a secret cow action. And he finds a black 9 out in these steps. Blue is going to go ahead and take this 1 and this 3, and they're going to put a hero of the rodeo Gaucho down, and then they're going to put a Gaucho in the sales house. We've completed our actions, we look to the pasture, and we see that the 3rd and 4th rows are both going to clear. Starting with me, I simply get this white 10 over here, so that's pretty easy. But green was able to clear an entire row to themselves, so they got a new row for the tan cows. We've got a black 6 and a black 12, and then finally a 4th type of cow, these modeled down here. All right, let's refill the pasture. At this point, we only have 5 cows left in our main draw deck. This means we're actually quite close to the end of the game. At the end of a round where we exhaust this supply, we will kind of go into the end game. There will be one more complete regular round, and after that one, there will be kind of a fake round where we don't roll the dice, but everybody gets to evaluate the rest of their Gauchos. So I guess we have 2 or 3 more turns left in us. The starting player passes to green, and they get to roll all 7 dice. This is a really low set of dice here, so green is going to go ahead and take the 6 in order to put a laying down Gaucho on this modeled 12, and then green is going to take this 3, kind of reducing options, in order to make a hero of the rodeo Gaucho for the following turn. Blue is going to grab one of these 2s here, they're going to stand up this modeled 5 cow Gaucho, and then they're going to pull back this hero of the rodeo Gaucho to make a 5 in order to put a laying down Gaucho over here. Then blue's final action will be to take this 2 here and put their last Gaucho laying down on this 5 in order to grab this cow at the end of a turn. I don't see any too powerful plays with all these low numbers, so I think I'm just going to go grab some cows. So I'm going to do the 2 and the 1, and I'll stand up a Gaucho on this guy and this guy. That's the end of our actions. We look to the pasture and we see that only this 4th row is going to take. And it's only the 1 cow, so it slides in here, and that's all that happens. Now we have to refill the pasture, which is just this one spot here, and it's a tiny cow. All right, blue is the starting player, and they're going to roll all 7 dice. Blue is really happy to see this 5. We haven't seen many of those, and he has tons of people laying down on the field, so he's going to take this 5 in order to take a overseer Gaucho and hopefully stand some of these guys up. Blue's second action is going to be to take this 4 and stand this guy up. Even though he has the overseer, he has lots of people to stand up out here. And for the first time in the game, we're going to have a cattle thief action. Blue is going to pull this Gaucho back, and they're actually going to steal this 11 from green. So what that means is green is going to immediately get 11 money back from the insurance company. This is going to slide over here for blue. And now blue is going to pull back his salesman Gaucho and sell this herd, even though it's only 2 cows big. So this is going to be 11 times 2 or 22 points plus 5 from the sales house, so that's going to be 27 money for blue. So first things first, green gets his 11 money from the insurance company, which brings him up to 45. And then blue gets the 27 from 44, which drops him at 71 money. I'm going to go ahead and take my Hero of the Rodeo Gaucho back, and I'm going to make a 5 out of it. I'm going to add that 5 with this 6 to get 11. And I'm going to throw a standing up Gaucho on this black cow here. And I'm also going to take this 2, and I'm going to put a laying down Gaucho on this guy over here, mostly because I want to fill this row in so I can actually take these Gauchos. Green is going to take this 1 die here. They're going to put a laying down Gaucho on this black 3. Then they're going to take this Overseer here, and they're going to use it to stand up 2 of their Gauchos in the field. This is going to be both of these guys here. And green's last action will be to take a 2, which will be to stand a Gaucho up on this cow right here, so now they're getting all this stuff from this field again. That's all the actions, so now we look at the pasture and we see that rows 2 and 3 are both going to take. So I get this 12, it slides in next to this 10, and then this 11 black cow just makes its own row. Green has a black cow which doesn't match their set, so they're immediately going to sell this herd for 36 points, and they'll start a new black herd there. They also got this 12, which slides in there, and wow, they got all 5 of the different colors here, so they have quite a bit going on for them. So green gets that 36 money, goes from 45 all the way up to 81. And blue just gets this black 9 cow, and nothing else happens for the moment. Now we refill the pasture, and we've only got 4 cows left, so let's see how far they go. That was the last cow, which means that this next turn is the final full round of the game. There'll be one small one after that where we get to pull up all of our action Gauchos. We pass the starting player marker over to me, and I get to roll all 7 dice. Alright, so I'm going to take these 2 3s here and evaluate them separately, and I'm going to drop a standing up Gaucho over here and over here. Green is going to start off by going to the steps to look for secret cow, and green finds this white cow over here. We're out of cows, so we don't add any more to the steps. Green is going to go ahead and grab these 2 dice here and make 7 to put a standing up Gaucho on this modeled 7 cow over here. And green's going to go ahead and pull this Hero of the Rodeo Gaucho up, make a 6 out of it, and drop him standing up on this cow here. The first thing blue's going to do is pull back this Overseer, which will let him stand 2 different Gauchos on the field up. So we're going to stand this guy and this guy. And blue's just going to set up for his final action only turn by taking this 6 here, putting a Gaucho into the steps, looking for some secret cows, and then they're going to grab this 2 and they're going to put this blue guy down here. Those are all the actions, so we look at the pasture and we see that the first and second rows are both going to take. First of all, I start a new row with these mottled cows here. Secondly, this is the first brown cow, so we'll start a 5th row right about here. And finally, we have this tan cow, which is a 3, so it breaks the rule for this herd, so we're going to be selling it. The biggest cow is a 12 and it's 5 tiles long, so that's 60 points for me. And this guy starts a new herd. So I'm at 41 points, plus 60 brings me to 101 points. I get to put this little bag marker down here to show that I've been around the board. Green takes this white 8, so that makes that row nicely, and then this mottled 7 comes in here and forces a sale of these 2, so that's 2 times 12, or 24 more points. Green was at 81, so this brings him to 105 points. And finally, blue has this 8 and 9. They slide in here, and nothing else happens. The starting player token moves over to green. We have no more cows to fill the field, and this is our final round of the game where we don't roll any dice. We're just going to evaluate these Gauchos. Green doesn't actually have any, so we go right to blue. Blue will start by looking at the secret cow stack. Blue finds this 3 and this 2 cow out in the steps, so he gets standing up Gauchos on both of them. And then because he knows he's going to get this 11 and he's going to want to sort this 3 in, he's going to move this Hero of the Rodeo down to the sorting yard. My only action Gaucho is this cattle thief right here. So I'm going to pull this guy back. I look at my other players and I see that blue has a modeled 9, and this is pretty huge. Right now, this over here is just worth 2 times 2 or 4 points. When I add this 9 in, that's suddenly worth 27 points to me. So that's definitely worth the swing, and also that gives blue 9 points. This round is over, and unlike the end of all the other turns, at the end of the game, everybody gets every cow that has a standing up Gaucho on it, so well, let's sort those on down now. Green simply has this 6, so it'll slide over to that 7, and nothing else happens. Blue is going to pull back his sorting Gaucho here, which will allow him to take this 3 and slide it in where it belongs. He then takes this 11, slides it into the back, so that's nice and happy. Lastly, he has this black 2, which slides over here, and breaks the rule, so we have a 9 times 2 or 18 points for this sold herd here. This brings blue up to 98 points. And now we go into final scoring, and it's really simple. Everybody just sells off their entire herds, and then we see who has the most victory points. We'll start with myself. I get 3 points for this cow here, then I get 24 points for this herd, 11 for this herd, we get 27 for this herd, and then 3 here, for a combined 66. This brings me up to 167 points. Green has 7 plus 3 plus 5 plus 14 plus 16, for a combined 45. And this puts green at a final score of 150. Finally, blue gets 2 plus 1 plus 55, for a combined total of 58. And this brings blue to a final score of 156. And it looks like I won with 167 points. I have to admit, when we started getting close to the end game, I did not have very high hopes for the red player winning, but I was able to pull it off, and in the very end, I won by about 11 points or so. Now, even though I was, I think like 20 or so points above the last place player, as you can see, 20 points is a relatively small swing the way the scoring mechanic works with those cows. You know, that last action that I did, I stole that 9 from the blue player and brought it over. They got 9 points for it, but I netted 23 points off of that one action alone. If I had decided to put that Gaucho not on the cattle thief spot, but maybe on just one little cow in the field, it's very possible that I would have lost the game or would have been much closer. That stealing part of the game came up very rarely in this playthrough, and the couple times that I played, it's only happened probably about 3 times a game, but it is a very crucial part of the game, and I think it really influences the flow of the game, especially with that selling action that you can do really whenever you want. I think as you play this game more and more times, people are going to get more savvy about when to steal and specifically when to sell their cows so that somebody can't jump in. It almost feels like having that cattle thief spot is more interesting as a threat versus actually using it. Now, I did get a lot of points for it, but you can really influence how other people are going to play if they look over and see that you have the possibility of stealing a cow. It kind of seems like it's worth it to just throw a person on the cattle stealing spot early in the game and just leave it there for a long time and let people sweat. And I have to mention that dice corral. Man, that is such a cool idea. It's just fun throwing the dice into there, and I've always liked the mechanic of pulling from a diminishing supply, whether that be a selection of rolls in the middle of a table that people are pulling and there's always a start player, and that start player changes, to this game where you're pulling dice out and there's getting less and less and less. So that start player has lots of options, but next turn, guess what? They are going to be the last player and they're going to get the worst option. So it really seems to kind of balance out, and it's just a really fun little mechanic. I do have to admit that analysis paralysis has poked its head into this game a little more than I was initially expecting, with that goofy, little cover and all these cute little cows. Oh man, the art is wonderful in this game. I've found that people can really kind of like chug down trying to analyze all their positions. Certain people in particular who might be prone to analysis paralysis, this might be a little bit of a tripping point. It's not going to kill the game by any means, but there are a lot of things to think about, especially when you start mathing out the points differences when you get this cow to that cow, and when do you do that? Okay, well, do you put a Gaucho down to sort? There's all of these things to really compute, and you want to make sure that you're not taking too long on your turns. Whenever I found myself like maybe going a little bit long and feeling a little anxious, I've just gone ahead and thrown a Gaucho down on a cow and been like, well, that's probably not going to hurt me points in the end game, and it might not have been the best thing, but at least I'm moving forward. So I'm really enjoying this game right now. This is far from a thorough review. I hope to do one of those at some point in the future when I played it a couple more times, specifically the 2-player variant. And yeah, I hope you've enjoyed watching this video as well. If you're interested in seeing more videos like this, also reviews and vlogs and all that kind of stuff I do, please consider subscribing to my YouTube channel. Thanks for watching.